All right. So I'm just going to do a little introduction because we are recording now. And this is my class, December 21st. And within a half hour of the session beginning, I had several emails of people canceling because of, I just think the holiday season is so challenging for everybody. But I have two faithfuls that have come along today, and that's Lori and Hazel. And so what we've decided to do was not do the PowerPoint presentation that I've had written, which I will make available to everybody after class. I'll do emails. And we've decided to do just sort of a mini session and talk about where we are, what's going on, and then offer writing techniques and prompts around all of that. So let's get started. One thing I want to start with is I want to ask, how much of your normal pre caregiving days, holiday traditions and things that you put on yourself, are you still trying to continue to do? Like 100%, 80%? Have you looked at your list and realized, you know what, I just can't keep up with all of this?
I didn't decorate my own house this year. I just decorated my mother-in-law's house.
Okay. Okay, because that was
I couldn't deal.
Yeah. And you couldn't deal because of energy?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't because you didn't want to have the holiday spirit around you at home. It was because you're just overwhelmed and that was all you could handle.
And that was what had to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And just for others to know, Lori and I discussed earlier that she and your husband, right? Mm-hmm. Spent about 5 hours with her mother-in-law decorating, and her place, not Lori's own place. And you can explain what happened next.
Well, then we spent all that time decorating, and she always wants everything in a specific space, but she doesn't necessarily remember where that was, but she knows if it's wrong. So it was a process. Yeah. And then the next day she woke up and said, "Oh, it looks so pretty. When did you do this?" She had no recollection of us having done it, which is fine. It's a new holiday surprise for her every morning when she wakes up to see the house. It's fine. It was just funny. It was like, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, we did it yesterday.
Right.
Just the constant redirection. But
gotcha.
And then I got home and I saw my own house. I was like, I'm fine with it not this year.
Right. Yeah, sometimes traditions have to be adjusted.
Yeah.
Right. Hazel, how about you?
Okay, so my energy levels have been low since my kids were born 15 years ago. I have autistic children.
3.
Yes. And it's difficult. And Correct. This year we've had quite a few challenges health-wise, like, an emergency surgery a month ago. And then 2 days ago, when I went for a gallbladder routine exam, basically my blood pressure fell to 54 and I passed out.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I just feel like I've bought their presents. The tree is up. I've never really decorated anyway. I'm no Martha Stewart. And I've been through everything. I got them the Christmas crackers. I've planned the menu. I've got the turkey today, the last turkey in Target. King Soopers was out. And I just felt like I've done it, but I didn't feel much joy. Isn't that sad?
So you feel like you're going through the motions,
yes.
But you're not experiencing it internally.
I don't feel Christmassy. I've wrapped their presents and I had, a variety of Christmas paper, so it looks lovely. It's just quite joyless, really.
I wonder if some of the, do you think, well, try to tell me why is it, why it feels joyless. Is it because of the pressure you're putting on yourself to do all of those things so it looks, and you're feeling overwhelmed when you don't even feel well? Obviously, your health is compromised. Um, or is it because of some other reason that you're not feeling? Do you normally feel holiday joy?
I think I do normally feel like, oh my gosh, it's Christmas, let's play Christmas songs, Christmas carols. And this year it's just, I don't know, maybe it's the, because we're still being quite COVID cautious. And I don't know, nobody else seems to be. And, everyone's getting really sick and hospitals are full. I don't know whether it's just health fears or maybe it's just, maybe I'm depressed and maybe I'm just going through, this is a checklist, right? Like I have to prepare
Yeah.
Christmas turkey, I'm a parsnip, must get Brussels sprouts. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know what.
You've had a very challenging year,
Yeah.
exceptionally challenging year. So, I guess where I'm going with this is number one, do we really know what success looks like for us anymore? Right? What is a happy, successful holiday? What does that look like? Right? I know we have expectations of ourselves, but is that based on old? Like, this is what we've always done. This is what it should always look like. This is what we always need to do. Or is it based coming from internally, your spirit and your heart? What makes a happy holiday? Or a happy year for that matter? What makes you look back on the year and say, yes, I did more good stuff. I was more successful than unsuccessful at what I wanted to accomplish this year. Right? So I think maybe something like one wonderful technique that you could do is to make a list. So this is what I have in my PowerPoint. So I'll just let you know. Get a piece of paper and draw it 3 sections. Okay. At the top, make a column for what's successful. What happened successfully this year? What did you do that you considered successful? What in the middle column, just put so-so. What was just, wasn't spectacular, but wasn't a fail, right? And then the last one would be what things happened this year that you felt were unsuccessful, or maybe you didn't accomplish them and you wanted to, or maybe you tried to do something and were unsuccessful at it. One thing I would say to you, Hazel, in that column might be your whole school experience, right? Or maybe that was a success, right? Maybe you attempted to do this and you recognized right away that wasn't how it should go and you made an adjustment. So where do you put that in your 3 columns? So, and number the items, right? And then obviously the successful item. So next to each item that you felt was a success, right? Why was that successful? Why do you think that worked well? Sometimes it's something you did. Sometimes it's just, the universe graced you with some positivity there, so somebody give me one thing from their successful column, if you don't mind. Just whatever comes to mind, thinking over either the holiday or the whole year. Just, is there anything that comes to mind right away when you say this really went well? Nothing for you, Hazel. Okay. Lori?
I did better this in 2022 than I did in 2021, dealing with my empty nest.
Ah, mm-hmm.
And
Good.
I count that as a success.
I think that's a huge success. So one writing technique that I would ask you to do would be to, like a prompt you could use is, when the kids left, I felt, however, since whatever, 2022 or since the middle of the year or whenever you felt that break happen, I feel more I feel more settled as an empty nester because. You see where I'm going with that? Okay. Because where I'm trying to get you to go with that is because when we get to the things that are unsuccessful, I want you to maybe look at what you wrote and what you found you were able to do that made the successes, how you can look at those things that were unsuccessful and maybe utilize some of the practices that you did in your success column to convert those unsuccessful things. Right? Does that make sense? Hazel, are you following me about that? Okay. Yeah. And I mean, and the so-so column, I want you to kind of do the same practice, sort of the same for all three columns, right? You do a little write. Don't write longer than 7 minutes. Anything 5 minutes is probably good. 7 is more than enough. And then I want you to read what you wrote. And then you're going to write your feedback right. So you're going to write starting with reading this, I realize, or reading this, I am surprised by. So you're going to do that for all of the items on all, or at least the top 2 items in each column. Except the so-so column, I also want you to look at that and wonder, why wasn't that why are you not counting that as a success? So I wonder, Hazel, I'm not very, I'm the first to admit, and I've told you this before, I'm not super experienced and on it with autism as I am with dementia, right? But I do think there are probably quite a few similarities, right? And kind of crossovers. So something you said, Lori, really made me proud of you because it made me feel like you have learned to be in the moment with your mother-in-law, be where she is, right? And I wonder, Hazel, if you do that with the boys. Like rather than interjecting your expectations or your thoughts of where they should be or where, I spent an hour teaching you, right? I wonder if you often stop and just go, okay, where is he right now? Let go of my expectation and meet him where he is. I can't hear you.
I just did that.
Good.
And I was like, okay, I went to therapy and him, we found a new guy, but we're still getting behavioral issues and meltdowns.
Sure.
And so I was like, okay, clearly he still has unmet needs,
Sure.
Sure.
And you have to remember, I mean, you have what, a 8-year-old, 13 and 15?
8, 10, 14.
Okay.
And it's puberty.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's add that on top of it, right?
Because I
But
was like,
also,
It's hard to
when
separate out what's
Mm.
from autism and what's like every
normal,
14-year-old is going to push these buttons or everyone. That's hard.
yeah, right? And so there always take a pause, right? It's not easy to do when most people, when caregivers are dealing with a loved one um who has dementia of any type. It's hard to just kind of stop and not just react and answer or sometimes speak out of anger or frustration, right? But take a beat, breathe, meet them where they are, and tell yourself, up until now, right? So if you're learning and changing how you interact with the kids, because I've always done it this way, but it wasn't working. So up until now, I did that. Now I'm doing this, right? Same with a parent or a spouse with dementia. I've always just reacted up until now, but now I'm going to take a beat and I'm going to, right? But just because you've changed doesn't mean that they're going to buy into it right away, right? You've been dealing with him for 14 years in a certain way. And meanwhile, you've been learning all along. His learning is probably slower. So, emotional learning, I mean. So you're able to make that adjustment, but you have to give him time to catch up to how you're right. So it didn't help. We're still having behavioral issues. Well, of course you are, because it's still going to take a while for that to, and then he's got the hormonal issues mixed in as well. So yeah, not fun. Right. But I do think that in any of those situations, it's so important to meet the person where they are. I can't tell you how often I hear people arguing with someone with a memory issue or a behavioral issue. Um, and it's like, okay, do you need to be right? Or do you just need to get this resolved, right? Especially with a person with dementia. And I mean, I don't know, it could be appropriate with the boys as well. I mean, it's like, yeah, probably you're right. Yeah, it is Wednesday. It's not Saturday, right? But the reality is, does it matter in the context of what you're trying to accomplish on that day? So I have a lot of people that are so adamant about making sure their parents know what day it is, what time it is, when their appointments are, and it's like, in the grand scheme of our lives, is it worth the added stress and challenge to be right about certain things? Okay. Which sort of leads me back to the holidays. Okay. Do you need to be, I mean, I'm so proud of you, Lori, for just saying, you know what, I just can't. I can't do my house. I can't, we're going to adjust some things, right? And but we're so stuck on what we've always done and how we've always done it.
Right. Well, and I've always done up the house. Like there's decorations. It looks like Santa's workshop exploded in my house usually. But I had to like think about like, who am I going to be letting down if I don't do it? I think I was the only one who cared about it. Like no one else cared if my house was decorated. But so I had to it was hard. I had to let go of it and say, you know what, it's okay if I just have a couple of things out. And nobody else cared. Like I thought that they would be like, oh, mom, it looks so boring. Or, why didn't you do this or that? No one cared. It was all me. It was all my own perception that I had to make this perfect Even though it's just me and my husband, he doesn't care. As long as he can go skiing every day, he doesn't care. But I had to let go. I had to say, it's nobody else cares. And I had to give myself permission.
Yes.
It's okay.
So do you feel any grief around that?
Sure. It's change, and change is hard. And the kids aren't here every day. And usually leading up to it, we've been making cookies and we've been doing all this stuff, and it's just me. So sure, I have grief over the change that's happened and letting them grow and do their own thing and create their own
Right,
path and
traditions
everything. And
yeah.
so logically, I understand all that, but sure, there's grief around it.
Mhm.
Of course.
So I have a really good, what I write each one of your kids an unsent letter about individually the experiences that the holidays have meant to you over the years with that person.
Mm.
And when you're done with it and you read it, it may be a beautiful Christmas gift. But it may be something you just want to keep close to your heart and let it be
I
you.
like
But
that.
it's a wonderful way for you to let the grief go
Mhm.
and explain in the letter, how watching them grow and how that whole process and how you watching them now starting their own traditions, what that means to you, right? And so that can be a really good way to help you get rid of that,
Yeah, I like that.
feel better about that grief. I know I'm going through a little bit of it this year because last year I wasn't able to come home at the holidays because we winter in Arizona and then come home for the holidays, right? And my grandson, well, two of my grandsons and one of theirs girlfriends stay in our home when we're not here. And right before we were ready to come out, they got COVID. So they were in our house and they had COVID, but my my daughter-in-law and son were healthy. So we weren't like, well, we can come home, clean the house real good, and we'll come back and you guys go home, because I didn't want them to go and make the rest of the family sick. So we weren't able to get back. So what happened was everybody was healthy by Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And they started kind of a new tradition. I normally host Christmas Eve and my son hosts Christmas Day. And we do the whole big ordeal, it's great. My daughter-in-law's family comes, my ex-husband comes and his girlfriend, and it's just a huge, kind of thing on both of those days. Well, they ended up just doing a nice big dinner on Christmas Eve, just the family. And then Christmas Day, they had, like a light breakfast and, whatever. They went to the movies. It was very calm and wonderful. And my daughter-in-law said, guess what? I like doing it like that much better. Right? Takes the pressure off. She was like, she's like, I'm not in the kitchen all day on Christmas, and I was able to enjoy Christmas, So it was hard for me initially when they called me. I was still in Arizona and I was like, oh, great, you're taking away the one holiday that I have left, because they do everything else. Yeah. And it was really hard, because those are family traditions. And that's a tradition that I took on from my mother. And but the more I thought about it and the more it was like, what does it matter who hosts or when we host or what we do? I just had to go through the mourning process and then let it kind of go. Right.
Yeah. It's
But
funny how you hold on to those though.
Yeah.
It's like, this is Christmas. It won't be
This is
Christmas
how we do
without it. It's like, yes, it will. It'll still be Christmas.
Yes.
Lighten up.
I know. I guess the younger generation just is easier. They roll with stuff easier than we do.
They've had to.
Yeah. Yeah. And, not to pick on you, Hazel, but I've been looking at your Facebook posts and it's like you are Christmas mama on steroids. Do you feel
Well,
overwhelmed?
um, I don't know. I just kind of feel like, we did gingerbread house, the usual cookies. I made mince pies. Other people do, I don't know. I guess the one thing I haven't done is like sourdough, handprint Christmas ornament type stuff, or baked more cinnamon buns. But I'm kind of like, look, my kids are happy to chill out. They're not, you know, stressed, but I guess I feel the pressure to create traditions and, memories. And I don't
Yeah,
know, but maybe this is not the year to start new stuff, especially if it's been a stressful year, right?
right,
And
right.
like, I don't have problems like getting stuff checked off and done. I'm a doer.
No, you don't have problems. That's for sure. This woman is like almost insane. That's why I'm sort of picking on you because I'm just like, you
Isn't
started.
this what everybody else does?
No,
Really? You don't make your own Christmas decorations and string popcorn together and really? Okay, cool. So yeah, sometimes I think I'm not very realistic in my, what other people do or what other mums do.
right, right. And
And pick
even
and
if it
choose.
is,
Maybe you can ask the boys what they remember
Mm.
from
that's
other
a great
years.
suggestion.
And
Yeah.
the things that really stick out, then you maybe do those and let some of the other stuff go.
So, I guess we did like with my energy levels, we stumbled upon like, booth idea. 3 pieces and you put them together. And I'm like, yes, that's a Christmas craft done. Um, but like you say, I am meeting myself where I am and
Yeah,
learning that hey, it's okay. You know,
yes.
there's
And,
going to be another year.
and give yourself a break. You have health issues right now,
Mm,
and so this is also how we teach the people we love how to treat us, right?
Right.
If we don't feel well and we're still out there just trying to pretend like everything's fine and we're, doing it all, and then we get to the point of like passing out, like complete exhaustion, whatever, and then we're upset with the people around us because they're not picking up, they're not doing everything. Well, we haven't asked them to, we haven't allowed them to, we haven't, we have all these high expectations, right? And, it's like my poor husband tries to help me cook all the time. He offers in the kitchen. And we have a pretty small kitchen. We used to have a much larger home and now we don't. And so I'm just like, nah, I can do it. I got it, and then I feel so bad because I'm like, can't I just be appreciative and figure out, but then the days when I don't feel well, I'm like, oh, I wish he would, blah blah blah, right? So it's like a lot of that is on us as well, you know, and I think some of that is our caregiving nature. It's so important for us to take care of everybody else that we forget the self-care that is so important, and easing up on the Christmas, the phenomenon that you create in your home, you know, it's okay. And like you said, the kids are like, what is it supposed to be about? It's supposed to be about us being together as a family and sharing, you know, whatever spiritual or religious or not, experience that you have together, family time, that's what matters ultimately. Um, so, another good prompt would be around the, about the holidays would be, um, why do I set my self up. Why is the look of Christmas overtaking the spirit of Christmas for me? And how can I change that? And then again, at the end, you want to do your feedback right. But I think that Christmas this time is so important because it's a great example of what we do to ourselves all year long,
Mhm.
right? It's those expectations that we put on ourselves that make us feel like we are failing when we're probably not, you know, doing a lot more than a lot of people do. And if you can identify what a success looks like for you versus what failure looks like for you and why, is that, are you failing because is your in your mind, when you feel you failed at something, is it because your expectations were too high? Did it harm anyone by you not meeting that expectation that you set for yourself? And I I feel like sometimes what we do is that we we act as if, right? So we set our expectations, excuse me, we set our expectations as if we weren't caring for a family member who has dementia. We set our expectations as if we had 3 children that were high functioning and didn't need extra, you know? So so when you asked me, Hazel, isn't that what every family does? Even if it was what every family does, every family doesn't have 1 child with autism, much less 3, right? So you are allowed to say, this is me. This is what I can handle. At the core of it all, we all want what's best for our loved one, right? And, or I hope, you know, whoever's watching this video, I hope you want what's best for your loved ones. So, I mean, I feel like you really need to constantly, through 2023, a good goal would be to remember to assess your expectations of yourself regularly. Has anyone had an opportunity or taken time to think about anything that you would like for 2023? To do anything you want to do differently or anything you want to accomplish in the new year?
I've decided I want to say yes more to experiences that I haven't done, that I've always said, no, I can't do that because, and just say yes and then figure out how to make it happen.
Oh, I love that.
That's my goal.
Okay. So that's great. I love that. It's a little gray, right? Because you haven't defined what those things, those experiences are. And what worries me about that is that you could look back on the year then at the end of the year and say, I only did 2 things outside my box, or, I only said yes to a couple of things, whereas I really wanted to, go crazy and do all these things, right? So try to think about what some of those things might be, and so identify them, and or give that goal some quantification. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yep.
Yeah. And Hazel, have you anything, or you're in the moment?
All right. So I think after, midway through the session, I think I realized that my expectation is that I should feel joy and happiness all the time. And that's why I felt like nothing happened successfully this year. Because, I'm tired. But maybe it's just realistic that I'm tired. So maybe maybe I'll feel like my year is successful if I'm more.
Can't hear you. You're fading away. Sorry.
No, don't worry. My computer is weird. Maybe I would feel like my year is successful if I am more in tune with myself.
Yes.
So I don't know. Is that a
That's
goal
perfect.
to have? Yeah.
No, that's perfect. Or if you quantify what success means to you, right? What I think the danger of social media and television has done to all of us is there is this terrible expectation that we're supposed to be happy all the time. What is happiness? What is being joyful? Right? Having a day when nothing went horribly wrong can make you happy. I mean, that's happiness, right? Or even a day when something went horribly wrong, but you were able to adapt and move forward. That's, I mean, when we look at first of all, most people don't post on social media when they're having a really crappy day, right? So everybody's pictures are super happy, and everybody's fun, and everybody's decorating the tree together, and everybody's, baking cookies, and everybody, that's not their everyday reality. So we should not expect that we should feel that way every day, even during the holidays. There are things that, when we set our expectations so high and we try to accomplish all of that, check, 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 I did this, check, 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 I did that, da, 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 of course you're tired. Maybe a successful day is popping a thing of Pillsbury cinnamon rolls, pouring yourself a cup of coffee and giving the kids some hot chocolate, and lazying around and watching some Christmas movies together. So everybody can recoup their energy. Because, people feed off of each other's energy, right? So if you're exhausted, if you're ill, if you're not feeling well, but you're also through all of that anxious about trying to get all these things done that you think you should do because that's what everybody else is doing, you're not being fair to yourself nor your children. Or, nor would you be, Lori, to your husband, your children, and your mother-in-law, who can't by any stretch of the imagination meet all of those expectations anymore, right? It's a constant adaptation, and that's our life. I have a 20-year-old granddaughter, and we talked about this the other day. She's like, I hate how everything is changing. So, my one brother lives in Austin, and my, like her all of the siblings are very, very close, but one has a girlfriend, and Alyssa works a lot, and life. And I was like, babe, life changes, and we have to adapt to all of those things. It's not failure, it's adapting.
Do you guys sometimes feel like when we're so busy with our caregiving that the world has moved on around us and has kind of like left us behind? So I recently discovered that some girlfriends, they meet up really regularly, you know, and I've been only invited to one. And so I was like, oh, I thought two out of five of them were good friends, guess they weren't.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just their normal versus my normal, right?
Right. I'm holding back, Lori, because I want to hear your response to that question first.
I have a couple of friend groups that I was noticing the same thing, but I realized that they asked me a little bit less because I kept saying no, that I couldn't make it to something. So they stopped asking. And so I had to reach out and say, I really miss you guys. Let's do something. Because I had pulled myself out of that group.
Mm-hmm.
And I really needed that interaction. I really
Absolutely.
enjoyed them, but sometimes I just had to say no. And I did it I realized that I did it to myself. And I had to pull myself back out of it by saying, hey, next time you guys are getting together, give me a call and I'll really try hard to work it out to make it to whatever it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, ask yourself, when you're together, do you leave your home problems at home? Because, excuse me, a lot of times what happens is, hey, how's it going? Everybody's catching up. Everybody's, oh, this is going on, that's going on. Oh, well, my mother-in-law, blah, 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 blah. Oh, well, the kids, blah, 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 blah. Oh, sorry. People don't know how to react to that. It makes them uncomfortable, right? So you have to try to find ways, even though that is who you are and what you're going through, that is not the time or place to vent or express that. Because if that's all you have to talk about, you do stop getting invited. I know that personally as a caregiver. It's just uncomfortable for people. They don't, when people ask, how you doing? What they're prepared to hear is great. Good, good. They don't really ask necessarily because they want to know the 5 hardships that you've been going through, family, mother-in-law, children.
But that doesn't, but that made me then question, the quality of the friendships.
Yes.
Is this just transactional? Is this just, you're there for them to have a good time? And then, like my kid said, what? They went away without inviting you? Like, what kind of friends are they? And then I'm like, wow, my children have better boundaries and value themselves more than I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
but you definitely have to have some friends that you can feel like, oh my gosh, I just have to tell you what's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But time and place.
Yeah.
Time and place. When the girls are getting together for a girls' evening, glass of wine, catch up, it's not a therapy session, right? It's a light topic conversation. How you doing? I missed you. It's laughter. It's remembering the years past that you've had together, right? When you need that time with your girls because you've got a lot going on, and you need someone to talk to and lay it all out there, that's a different thing. That's a call a girlfriend and say, man, I need a glass of wine and a event. I need someone who I can talk to because I'm going through some stuff right now or whatever.
And I also realized that, like, I was always the one reaching out, like texting and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm out of sight, out of mind. And that's, part of me is kind
It's
of,
sad.
it is, but I'm kind of like, well, whatever. This is just the nature of the friendships that I have at the moment, I guess. I mean, they were there for me. Like, when I passed out, my husband was busy at work. They came and got me. So I think it's also reevaluating my expectations and just accepting people that, they're going to be there for me practically, but maybe not emotionally. And that's okay. Or,
But
well, so I did
don't
start to look for a new therapist because I was like,
but I think that justifies a conversation with them, right? That is, if you feel that the friendships are valuable and you want to continue them, then that requires a conversation to say my feelings are hurt. I I really, not a you guys are doing this, you leave me out, da da da, but I have noticed that you've gotten together a few times and I did not get the invitation and my feelings are hurt. And I'm curious to know why that is happening. And because I value you all as friends. And I look forward to those times when we're together. So have I done something that maybe gave you the impression that I can't make it, or or you shouldn't invite me anymore? You know? But I don't think it's fair to assume certain things about people without at least
Yeah.
trying to have a conversation with them about it.
And having a friend who goes through very similar things. So if you have a friend who has a child with autism, that experiences some of the same things, that might be the person to go to talk about those, because they can relate on a very personal level.
Yes. Yes. And also, I always advise my caregivers, when you need to have one of those, like just a vent, right? I just need someone to just listen to me. Start the conversation that way. Hey, I really just need to vent right now, but I'm not looking for you to solve my problem or, give me your thoughts and whatever. Can you do that for me? Because some people aren't that way. Some people have to give you opinion, have to try to fix it, and it's all out of love. It's not, bad. But what happens is then, excuse me, this cough is killing me. But what happens is you feel judged, right? When they start telling you, well, have you done this? You should have done that. I would
Yeah.
have, right?
Yeah.
And they don't mean it that way. But that's how typically caregivers, that's why, how we take it. So, oh man, this lingering cough is killing me. So I would recommend for 2023, you look at those things that went well this year, the things that didn't go so well this year. Those are the ones I really want you to focus on. And I want you to look at why. Why didn't they go well? Is it your expectations were too high? right? And don't give up on them. Try to say, okay, so in 20, like can anybody give me an example of something that either over the holidays that didn't go that you would consider not successful, or for the whole year that you would consider not successful? I know I'm putting you on the spot. So. So, okay, Lori, I'm just going to say, give me one thing that you didn't say yes to this year.
I was asked to go on like a weekend trip,
Uh-huh.
and it would have been pretty hard to juggle things around. And I really wanted to go, but I didn't have the energy to do what was required to go.
Okay. So, what I want you to do is write, and this is probably a 10-minute write or a 15-minute write. So we're not going to do it now, but I want you to write this down. Write as if you did do it. Okay. Write about how you prepared for the trip and what happened on the trip. Like, not the physical things that happened, but like emotionally, like how you felt being away and what brought you joy about the trip and that experience. And I think when you're done, then I want you to read it, and I want you to write, the next time I have an opportunity to do this, I will, right? I will do whatever it takes, or you know what I mean? Because I think that sometimes you need to get into the experience, you need to get into what you were able to do. Feel the experience. And then the next time an opportunity like that comes up, you'll find the energy to be able to do it. Right?
Yeah,
And
I like that.
and do that with all the little things from that that you want to accomplish next year. Like, even just write about, put yourself, instead of December this year, put yourself into December of 2023 and write about what that year was like. Like for you, Hazel, I started the year adjusting my expectations of myself, and this is how it looked, right? And then you pretend like you've been through, you write about the whole year. How did it feel? What, what changed in you and for you? Hmm. Of course, of all days I'm recording and I have this coughing fit. But that is letting go of my expectation of being perfect. Anything else you guys want to work on for this year?
I think I want to be more present, but I can't do all that mindfulness stuff.
So what does that mean? Identify for me, being present.
I think I passed out because I was really stressed about the procedure. but I was not conscious that I was stressed about the procedure.
Hmm.
And they did say that, oh, maybe it's just a vasal response, to the pain of being poked. Because they went through quite a lot of, scarred veins, because I've been poked a few times. So I don't know. I guess I want to be more like aware that I guess I've had this pattern of doing to avoid emotion. Hence being an overachiever as opposed to, just chill out. It's okay. You don't have to do your taxes now, You don't get your shit till like mid-January anyway. But I was like, right, I'm getting my taxes done before Christmas. And I know,
Right.
insane, right, Laurie? I've done my budget too, by the way, for the next year.
Wow.
And
I know.
reassessed,
Wow.
but it made
Yeah.
me happy. But it was
So
like temporary,
but here's where I'm confused. What did you say? You started out by saying you want to be more present, but you don't want to do all the what?
I don't like mindfulness, picture your thoughts as clouds in the sky. Picture your thoughts as leaves on a stream. It's just too airy-fairy for me.
Okay, so it's not mindfulness you don't like, it's abstract. You're not an abstract thinker.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
It's hard for me. Like when I meditate, it's really hard to imagine that I'm at the beach or I'm, whatever. Yeah, I don't think like that either. I'm very methodical person. I'm not an abstractor kind of person. But I do think you can still practice some mindfulness to help yourself stay present without all of that other stuff, by just breathing, stopping. What I'm hearing you say is that you stay busy to avoid your emotions and feelings.
I think so.
So it's hard to be present and avoid your emotions and feelings. So you've got to get to the connection of what you're avoiding. And I'm not a therapist, so I can't really help you there, but I'm, I guess what I'm saying is I'm sort of warning you that if you do start limiting your expectations and slowing down and stuff, be prepared that that stuff you're running away from is going to come up. So I guess you have to make a conscious decision, which is more important, right? But I will say that a person can only move at the speed of light for so long before your health starts becoming compromised. And again, my 3 favorite words up until now, right? It's worked for you up until now, and your body seems to be telling you that you need to slow down.
And sometimes mindfulness is just saying, oh my goodness, I'm holding my breath. Or I feel all this tension in my shoulders. What am I holding on to? Or what am I gearing up for? Why am I tensing up? And so mindfulness can just be checking in with your body and saying, how am I expressing my anxiety? And what can I do to relax that? Or take some deep breaths to open up the breathing. And because I agree that like go on a mind trip doesn't work for me, but sometimes I don't realize I'm anxious until I see that I'm, oh my gosh, my neck is really hurting. It's like, oh, what do I need to let go of? Or what am I doing? Or,
And that's a
So
great
sometimes
time
it's
to
just
write.
checking in with your body to see
Yeah.
what's going on.
I love the first thing you said about I'm holding my breath. Because I
Mhm.
think a lot of times we don't recognize, or even not just holding it, but just the shallow breathing. Instead of like, I really, need to take some deep breaths. I really need to get that oxygen flowing in my body, in my system, right? And, writing is a great way to get rid of that anxiety, that negative energy. Like what am I afraid of? What am I anticipating here that it's causing me anxiety?
Yeah.
Yeah. And those are all little important steps that we all need to take. And if you can chunk them out into little baby goals, you know, for the new year, like, in 2023, I will set my alarm once a week to check in on my emotions, right? It's a pretty simple little thing. Give yourself 10 minutes once a week. And then maybe in February, you might say, you know what, I'm going to up that to a couple times a week because that felt so good in January, right? And I'm going to set my alarm to say, I'm going to journal once a week, because I am not the type, I don't feel that in today's, while I do agree that journaling every single day is the best way, it's a great therapeutic outlet. I'm realistic to know that that doesn't happen. Doesn't happen for me, a lot of times. So, but if you can take things in chunks and say, out of 30 days, I wrote twice. That's great. You know, instead of out of 30 days, I only wrote twice. It's all about how you look at things, how you look at your expectations and you know, what you're demanding of yourself and what you can let go. And I think that when we do that, not only are we happier, but those around us are happier.
Then I got stressed that I wasn't journaling every day, doing my 10 thankful days every day.
No. No. Yeah, I mean, again, an unrealistic expectation. When I have these angel cards and I love these. I used to, when I was teaching classes in person, I would put one upside down at all the seats. And it was always amazing to me that people would pick the seat that really, accidentally, it would just turn out that where they sat, the angel card, when they turned it over, was just speaking to them. But these are the angel cards that I have, and I keep them in a glass vase on my counter, and I pick one every day. And it sort of just tells me what kind of my word of the day, right? And it's my way of journaling, right? One is joy, like on the card here, I mean, on the front, it says one's authenticity, one's awakening, healing, and so do something like that, right? And you don't have to buy them. Sit down and just write out a bunch of things, gratitude, what you're grateful for, or even breathe, lower my shoulders, um, take a nap, sit and watch a movie, those kind of things, right? And just pull one once a day to remind yourself self-care. It's very, very important. All right. So I know it's only 10, quarter till 10 till, but I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up unless there's anything else you all wanted to touch on. Okay. Um, if you get stuck on something, on a writing technique or something I gave you guys and you need a different prompt or something, feel free to email me. And for those of you watching the recording, my website is carepartnersresource.com, or you can reach me at Lori@carepartnersresource.com. Um, and then my Facebook page, Care Partners Resource and Consulting, I always put prompts and different things on there. So you guys don't hang up. I'm going to end the recording. Thank you all for joining, and I look forward to hearing from you.